Kia ora Aotearoa, it's July 28. I'm Zoë George and this is The Podium, Stuff's new podcast dedicated to the Birmingham Commonwealth Games. It's our first episode. Exciting. And we're looking forward to spending the next couple of weeks with you, bringing you all the action and colour from the Games. I'm joined by Stuff's team who'll be on the ground in Birmingham, Rob van Royen. Kia ora, Rob.
Morning.
And Ian Anderson. Kia ora, Ian.
Morena, Zoe, how are you?
So good. Very exciting. The action will kick off properly on Saturday with the opening ceremony tomorrow. So we want to take a look at who might be the Kiwi athletes to keep an eye on at these games. Ian, let's start with you, and we have to talk about one of our favourite sports, cricket. It's the first outing for T20 cricket at the Com Games, and it's the first time the White Ferns have played since the World Cup, in which they were unable to make the semi-finals on home soil. Let's just not talk about that. They've had a bumpy ride with a few changes to coaching staff and players, but Captain Sophie Devine has said they expect to bring home a medal. So what are your expectations for the White Ferns, Ian?
Yeah, I think bronze is realistically the best return for the White Ferns. I mean, after missing out on the semi-finals at the World Cup, it's hard to imagine them threatening the Cup winners in the host, Australia and England, even though it is a different format in T20, but they're without, those veteran stars like Amy Satterthwaite and Frankie Mackay and Katie Martin. India and South Africa are there. Barbados have got a number of key players from that West Indies side that we saw at the World Cup, like Hayley Matthews and Deandra Dottin. So, but New Zealand cricket obviously had to make some changes after that World Cup, and it's probably a good environment for the likes of, Fran Jonas and Georgia Plimmer and Eden Carson to get to grips with international cricket.
When does the first T20 games start?
They've got South Africa first up a couple of days after the games open in Birmingham.
Who do you expect to bring medals home for us?
Yeah, well, cycling has always been a big medal reward for New Zealand. I mean, there's so many disciplines in cycling and you get a lot of track events as well too, so you've got a chance for multiple medals. That should be the case again in Birmingham. You've got the likes of Campbell Stewart and Aaron Gate in the men's track. L.S. Andrews, both her and Campbell Stewart were medalists in Tokyo at the Olympics. Bryony Both has been going really, really well over summer. Rebecca Petch switching from BMX to track, which would be fascinating. And then maybe best of all, we're going to probably see that Anton Cooper, Sam Gay's combination again, which has got history in the mountain bike. That was the most memorable event of Gold Coast 2018.
Yeah, so there's tell me a bit about that history there. Will we expect some fireworks from those two?
Well, if history is anything to go by, yes, that 2018 event was amazing. Sam Gay's got sort of left behind when he was at the last changeover, fixing a mechanical problem on his bike in that race, and he ploughed back to it and caught Anton Cooper after waving the finger at him as he went past on that lap. And these two guys have had a phenomenal rivalry for more than a decade, both at national and international and world level. They've both had their successes. They've both had their hardships as well too. Yeah, there'll be fireworks.
We'll keep an eye out for that. You're also watching squash, aren't you? Who should we look out for in squash, and will we expect medals in that too?
Definitely. They won 4 medals, the squash team, New Zealand squash team at Gold Coast 2018. 4 would be a target again, but the colour might be even better this time round because Paul Cole won silver on the Gold Coast in the men's singles and is now the world number 2 ranked player. So he'll be favourite for gold there. Joelle King won the women's singles on the Gold Coast, and probably a battle between her and Sarah Jane Perry of England, who's a Birmingham girl. That'll be a good contest. She'll have the home crowd behind her in the women's singles. And those two team up in the mixed doubles. And Joelle King teams up with Amanda Landers-Murphy in the women's doubles, also gold medal contenders. So, yeah, plenty of rewards expected from the squash courts.
Hey, Rob, let's bring you in here. Sevens rugby returns with the sides defending their gold medals from the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games in 2018. And then this time last year, the Black Ferns Sevens won gold and the men won silver at the Tokyo Olympics. Can they defend their medals this time around?
Yeah, you'd certainly think so. Look, you never want to give out medals, golds beforehand. But like, if you could, I think if you look at that New Zealand team heading to Birmingham, the Black Fern Sevens particularly are raging favourites, and the All Black Sevens as well. I mean, they're both fresh off winning the Oceania Super Sevens titles last month in Pukekohe. So they've prepared well, and you look at those squads. I mean, I look at the Blackfern Sevens, Michaela Bly, Kelly Brazier, Tyler Nathan Wong, all the big names that are there, Stacey Fleuler. So, like, they're well set. And I think the men, they'll probably, Fiji loom large for them especially. So, but yeah, look, they're definitely both a really good chance.
And you're also following triathlon. Who are you keeping an eye on in that sport?
Well, definitely Hayden Wild in the men's. I mean, he's been in scorching form on the world circuit. One that really opened the Olympic account for the Kiwis in Tokyo last year with that bronze, and since then he's really excelled. He's had a couple of big wins recently, and he's a real chance to gold medal chance there. And Nicole van der Kai in the women's, I wouldn't count her out. She's ranked 21st in the world heading into this, but she's also showed some good signs lately. And Andrea Hansen, Nee Hewitt, she's their 40-year-old, and she doesn't have great expectations on herself in the individual, but she's really keen to make that mixed relay team, which she was in the team which won bronze 4 years ago. So.
And Rob, you'll be following the netball, the Silver Ferns redemption after the 2018 Gold Coast Commonwealth Games.
Well, I mean, yeah, they lost the bronze. Well, for starters, remember that, who could forget that loss to Malawi, and then they managed to scrape through to the bronze medal match. They lost to Jamaica, and Brendan Egan, Stuff's netball writer, I think he's tipping them to go no better than bronze. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that.
For me, I'll be keeping a close eye on the swimming. I'm very interested to see how backstroke swimmer Andrew Jeffcoat goes, and of course youngster Erica Fairweather, who shone at last year's Olympics. Qualifiers for swimming start on Saturday, New Zealand time. And of course, one of my other favourite sports, the Blackjacks Lawn Bowls team, the women in particular, including debutante Nicole Toomey and para-athlete Sue Curran. Curran came fourth in Glasgow and fifth in the Gold Coast, and she is our oldest member of the New Zealand team at 75. So she proves it's never too late to be an elite athlete. Isn't that incredible, Ian?
Yeah, there's chances for me still.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about some unexpected successes? Who could be the bolters who makes it to the podium?
Yeah, I think if we could predict them now, that probably wouldn't be a surprise, would they? Quite often we try and do this beforehand, and you pick people on the fringe, and it's quite often someone with virtually sort of no profile nationally, let alone internationally. If I had to punt for a couple, maybe in Birmingham it could be one of the 3-on-3 hoopsters. Both the New Zealand men's and women's team could be contenders there, or maybe one of the beach volleyballers.
Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, if I was to pick one, I mean, it's always so tough to do. I'll be certainly keeping a close eye on Zoe Hobbs in the women's 100 metres. I mean, she's fresh off breaking her own Oceania record in the World Champs in Oregon. She ran an 11:08. Look, the issue for her is there's the Jamaican trio there, and but I'd expect, she should make the final at least, which would be a great achievement to even make that 100 metres final.
Absolutely. Interesting that you mentioned the 3-on-3 basketball, Ian. It's one of the new sports here at the Com Games, and esports will be an exhibition sport. But there are a few key sports missing from the Commonwealth Games in which New Zealand are incredibly successful at. So what would you love to see at the Games? Personally, for me, skateboarding or surfing, although I don't think Birmingham is known for its waves. Resident surfer Ian Anderson, what do you think?
No, it's not, is it? They'd have to take that slightly further south to try and hold that. I was reading back through some of the history of the Com Games, and obviously rowing was a major sport in a lot of the Com Games up until probably about the 1970s, and that would be a massive boost for New Zealand's medal haul, given how well they've done internationally in the Olympics and the like. And canoe sprint as well too, obviously, with the likes of Lisa Carrington, and New Zealand's very strong record in that as well too. I think the problem obviously is for many host venues that they lack a suitable venue for both of those sports right near the sort of host town. You could find one in the country, but that would be a long way away for the athletes to go each day. So I'm going to throw out poker. I mean, come on, chess is a sport. A final table chasing a medal in poker would make fantastic viewing.
Yeah, well, it's quite popular. It's making waves on broadcast television and sports channels. So that could be an option. Would you be a gun-in for that, for a gold medal in poker?
Given the less athletic ability needed, the better. That would suit me well.
Rob, what about you? What sports would you like to see at the Commonwealth Games?
I'll start with the returning one, and that would be this is only the second time since 1966 it's not there, and that's shooting. The lack of facilities, it's not there this year. I mean, with Natalie Rooney, Olympic silver medalist, Chloe Tipple, a couple of really good athletes that can't go to the Com Games because there's no shooting. In terms of a new one, I'd like to see sports climbing, actually. I mean, ahead of the Olympics last year, I didn't really know a thing about it, but I watched it, and it was one of the most entertaining sports I found in Tokyo. So I think sports climbing would be a great addition down the line.
Well, they're fantastic suggestions. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to chatting with you tomorrow about the opening ceremony. That's it for the Podium ahead of the Birmingham Commonwealth Games. Remember, you can find all the latest games action online at stuff.co.nz, and if you like this content, you can find more online at stuff.co.nz/podcasts or wherever you normally get your podcasts from. I'm Zoë George. Until next time, ngā mihi, go well.